1 billion people are going to be working in smart buildings in the next 10 years. This is not going to be a small kind of sliver of the industry. All buildings need to be smart. And the reason for that is that many of the world's biggest problems today, whether it's healthy buildings or sustainability in the climate crisis, cybersecurity, access to great digital connectivity, are now going to need to be addressed by the owners of buildings. And so owners today need to start taking stock of their existing technology infrastructure, taking stock of the outcomes that their users of the building want from those assets, and starting to plan and invest in tech infrastructure, because in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, the buildings that don't do that are going to become obsolete. And there's a real risk to people that aren't being proactive today and taking those steps forward.
There's a wide range of different trends, but one that we like to look at frequently is that immersive and interactive applications have now, there's research to prove that immersive and interactive applications increase information retention substantially. And so that's what our team is focusing on, is the ability for these interactive applications to help throughout a broad range of different use cases in our industry.
I think the biggest thing to watch out for right now is the piece that we're most excited about, which is verification. Being able for a seller and a buyer to be able to go through the verification process, unlocking a customer's ability to buy a home online.
I'm interested, and I'm keeping a close eye as to how our industry standardizes ESG practices and how that concept comes out into practical standards, regulations, and overall development considerations.
So we're seeing the rise of ESG teams, and we're also seeing the rise of innovation councils. And as a part of this, we're seeing a mandate across our entire client base where ESG is an outcome, and ESG is something that all of the tenants, the investors, and the owner-operators are all interested in, and understanding from a reporting perspective what's being done at a building level to really address climate change. And this is one of the biggest challenges of our time. And how do we really reduce our overall energy footprint and consumption of energy, and also reducing that carbon reduction? And we pair those ESG initiatives with automation to then be able to take in multiple inputs, as I mentioned, from BMS systems, from IoT sensors, from metering and occupancy data, and then being able to then determine when the right time to optimize, start a building, shut down a building, ramp up and ramp down a building might be. And as part of this, we can flow this data back into an ESG initiative to then show where we're reducing across an entire portfolio energy consumption that ultimately satisfies investors, tenants, owners, and operators.
In terms of AI, we develop in-house tools to help our team, to give them insights on the markets for a specific property and a specific time. So in order to do that, we take a lot of data, macroeconomics data, demographic, geographic, properties data, combine it together to an AI algorithms, and give insights about what we think is going to happen on a sub-market level.
We are definitely telling our startups to brace for a continued period of what we would call stagflationary malaise. It's not necessarily a gigantic economic contractionary period, but it's certainly not an expansionary period either, and it's a very challenging period. So we're telling our companies that they need to fortify their balance sheets. They need to have about 24 months of runway if they can, and they need to be continuing to demonstrate, as I mentioned, margin expansion, so that their growth is not breakneck growth where money continues to have to be raised in order to fuel that growth. So we're telling companies to prepare themselves for another year of very choppy waters in both the public equity markets and the private equity markets. We've had the worst IPO year arguably in history this year in 2022. Pundits suggest there's probably only going to be 30 to 40 tech IPOs next year in total. So we are telling people to make sure their balance sheets are strong I think the encouraging sign for us is a lot of our companies, from a profit and loss, from an income statement perspective, are experiencing their best quarters ever, record quarters of revenue, record quarters of gross margin, EBIT margin, and a lot of really exciting metrics. And the overall tailwinds for the space as they relate to commercial adoption remain strong. Another thing we like going forward is the business increasingly is becoming international, and some of these international developing markets, we can take techniques and business models that we've successfully explored in the past here in the United States and export and extrapolate them to an emerging market where there's essentially a greenfield, not the same level of competition that there is here.
Yeah, I think right now the biggest difficulty for our customers, which are developers, is high interest rates. And for a company like us, where our main benefit right now is time savings, really helps alleviate a lot of that pain point for developers by cutting down the speed to build buildings.
I think that the prop tech and technology markets have changed quickly over 2022, and there's been a big shift with a focus on efficiency and predictability over overall top-line growth.
So the market right now, compared to last year, has dramatically matured in terms of occupiers trying to figure out what is going to be the next step for us when it comes to workplace strategy and their employee experience. We are seeing here at Flex many employers taking really the next gear in figuring out how they are going to treat this issue, being how to organize their workforce, and starting to really evaluate what a hybrid workplace strategy is going to look like for them.